to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video, and the news has come out that the New York Giants have, decided to franchise tag Leonard Williams. Now, this is something that I think we all thought was a possibility, but leading up until the franchise tag, I thought, maybe the New York Giants would have liked not to give Williams the tag and let him hit the open market. Now, from what I'm reading, and I'll get more into the specifics, it may not entail that the New York Giants are losing a fourth-round draft pick, at least according to one source. The Giants had one of two options here if they were going to tag him. One was the transition tag, one was the franchise tag. From everything I'm hearing, the New York Giants will be electing to use the franchise tag. I don't know all the full specifics with the transition tag. It would have entailed that a team would have been able to acquire Leonard Williams if they were willing to exceed the deal, but it would have been at a cheaper rate. Now, this is a very rarely used tag, so I did honestly think if they were going to tag him, it would be the franchise tag, which seems to be the option. Now, going into this move, the New York Giants had approximately $74, maybe $75 million in cap space after the Penny move and the Mayo move. I would say probably closer to 74. With the franchise tag, they're now going to have about $58 million to spend. Now, of course, you could always restructure contracts. Maybe the Giants will elect to do that. Maybe they'll make a cut here, cut there. But Gettleman is on record as saying that he wants to set aside $20 million. And a lot of us, and myself included, when it came out, interpreted that as in-season moves. Well, if that does not include draft expenses, well, then he wants to set aside $33 million because the draft is 13. We'll have to wait and see exactly what that meant. But if you set aside 33 off the 58, that only leaves us with $25 million. If you set aside 20 between the two, well, that leaves us with a little bit more, about $38 million to spend in free agency, and we'll have to wait and see how the New York Giants plan to spend it. There's no defending the trade. I mean, Dave Gettleman, I defend Dave Gettleman for a lot of things. I like a lot of the things he did last offseason. This trade was not one of them. It was a really bad trade. It was a trade that did not need to be made when the Giants made it. We were 2-6. We were not winning anytime soon. Williams was going to hit the open market. I personally think he did it to try to save Pat and himself's job. I could be wrong, but the trade never really added up, never made a lot of sense, in my opinion. He's come out and said that he wanted to see how he played on the football field. You could have done that with tape. But regardless, we move on. Leonard Williams is a member of the New York Giants. He played well with the New York Giants last year. You really did see, how the team played when Leonard Williams came. I mean, they got much better in terms of run defense. Dalvin Tomlinson upped his game to another level. He's one of the better run stuffers in the league. Now, obviously, we're going to have to wait and see at what position was he tagged, defensive end or defensive tackle. I think most of us assume it will be as the DT, being that that's where he played primarily with the Giants, and it is significantly more affordable if you're a defensive tackle as opposed to a defensive end. I'll get into the exact salary implications in a second, but let's pull up some of the things I was able to read regarding Leonard Williams. First is the initial tweet from Adam Schefter. Came out about an hour ago, but of course my computer wasn't cooperating, so it took me a little while to get this video up. Adam Schefter writes, the Giants expected to place a tag today on defensive lineman Leonard Williams, per source. Giants want him back and unwilling to let him leave. And, like I said, this is not very shocking, being that the Giants are under a third and a fifth. We'll see if that fifth becomes a fourth, but according to Field Yates, that is not the case, at least not as of now. Correcting an earlier tweet, placing the tag on Williams does not mean the Jets now receive a 2021 fourth-round pick instead of a fifth-rounder. If Williams were to sign a new deal before 4 p.m. Wednesday, it would. But with just the tag, the pick remains a 2021 fifth to the Jets. And it's possible the New York Giants may have given the tag knowing that they would have had to surrender a fourth instead of a fifth if that were the case. But $16 million a year is definitely over market value for a player like Leonard Williams. I would have said if it was a 3 or 4 year deal, I would have said maybe 13 or 14 makes more sense. For Leonard Williams, this makes sense because now you play on a $16 million tag. The cap goes up by 15% next year, and he'll get at least 16 probably next year if he plays, fairly well with the New York Giants on a multi-year contract. And all we can hope for now is Leonard Williams continues to have an impact. A couple things I want to point out. There were a few other tags. Shaq Barrett was tagged along with a few other players. The Packers went out there and they signed Christian Kirksey, the linebacker, which opens up the door maybe for the New York Giants to potentially sign Joe Schobert. I had Schobert pegged to the Packers for a while, being that he grew up in the area, and that will not be the case. So maybe the Giants will be able to bring in Schobert. on an affordable rate. That's one thing to think about. This came out from Vacchiano. A lot of people were questioning whether or not it was a franchise or a transition tag. The Giants were always planning to tag Leonard Williams, and sources continue to say that this is expected to happen today. It will almost certainly be the franchise tag for a variety of reasons. So maybe it could be the transition tag, but word from Vacchiano says it will almost certainly be the franchise tag. And I mean, there's a reason that teams very rarely use the transition tag. This is what the franchise tag will cost exactly. If he goes as a defensive end, it will cost almost $18 million at $17.78. The defensive tackle would be $16.12, at least according to this chart. I've read different charts where it's actually more than that. This may be a year old. It might have went up. I think it was closer to 19 for the defensive end. But regardless, it will save the Giants money if he's a defensive tackle, which in all honesty he should be. I mean, that's basically what he played with the New York Giants. I know he played some edge. The guy had a half a sack. We'll wait and see what happens when the salary figures come out. But regardless, Leonard Williams will be a member of the New York Giants next year, and it will only be on a one-year commitment. It will not be a multi-year deal. We'll have to wait and see what news comes out with the New York Giants regarding the rest of their cap space, but this will certainly eat into a lot of it. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.